Someone brilliant. The kind of person who solves complex problems at work before lunch, who reads dense material for pleasure, who seems to understand systems other people never fully grasp. Now picture that same person standing in front of a restaurant menu for 10 minutes, unable to choose between two nearly identical dishes. Or spending 3 hours composing a 2-line email, rewriting it 7 times before sending something that says exactly what the first draft said. This is not a contradiction. It is a pattern, and it is remarkably common among intelligent people. The very mental machinery that makes someone sharp in analysis, strategy, or problem-solving can become the same machinery that traps them in indecision, hesitation, and mental noise. Intelligence, which should make life simpler, often makes it more complicated instead. To understand why, we have to look at what intelligence actually does to the mind. A highly analytical brain doesn't just see one path forward, it sees many. It identifies risks others miss, anticipates consequences 3 steps ahead, and holds multiple scenarios in mind simultaneously. This is an extraordinary asset in solving a technical problem. But applied to everyday decisions, what to say, what to choose, what to do next, this same skill becomes a liability. More possibilities do not lead to better decisions. They lead to paralysis. There is a second layer beneath this: fear. For someone who has built their identity around being capable, being wrong feels disproportionately threatening. It is not simply the fear of a bad outcome. It is the fear of discovering that they are not as sharp as they believed. So the mind delays. It gathers more information, weighs more angles, runs the scenario one more time. Not because the answer is unclear, but because clarity would require choosing, and choosing means the possibility of being wrong. This is where a subtle trap forms. Thinking begins to feel like action. Each additional hour spent analyzing feels like productive effort, like diligence, like responsibility. In reality, it is often a highly sophisticated form of avoidance. The mind convinces itself that one more round of consideration will finally produce the perfect answer, the version of the decision with 0 risk attached. But that version does not exist. And so the loop continues, disguised as thoroughness. Compounding, this is a pattern reinforced by prior success. Intelligent people are often praised, early in life, for getting things right through careful thought. That reinforcement creates a belief. More thinking equals better outcomes. For a period, this may even be true. But applied indiscriminately to decisions that do not require deep analysis, this belief becomes a liability rather than an asset. The formula that once produced excellence now produces exhaustion. The psychological cost of this pattern is significant, even if it rarely announces itself directly. Decision fatigue sets in quietly, draining energy that should be available for meaningful work. Anxiety loops form, where the same worry is revisited without resolution. Procrastination emerges, not from laziness, but from an unconscious avoidance of closure. On the surface, it looks like carefulness. Underneath, it is often distress wearing the mask of diligence. This leads to the central insight of this discussion. Overthinking is rarely a thinking problem. It is an emotional regulation problem, fear, perfectionism, and the need for certainty, expressing itself through the vocabulary of logic and analysis. The mind is not malfunctioning. It is protecting itself the only way it knows how, by refusing to stop. Understanding this distinction changes everything. Because if overthinking is not a flaw in intelligence, but a misapplication of it, then the solution is not to think less. It is to learn when thinking has done its job, and when it is simply postponing the moment that matters most, the decision itself. If overthinking is not a flaw in intelligence, but a misuse of it, then the solution isn't to think less. It's to think with an exit strategy. The goal was never to shut the mind down. That would be like asking a powerful engine to stop running. The goal is to give that engine a destination, so it stops circling the same block over and over, burning fuel without ever arriving anywhere. The first shift is to treat decisions like they have expiration dates. Analysis without a deadline will expand to fill any amount of time available. This is not a character flaw. It is simply how unconstrained thinking behaves. So the smart mind must impose an artificial boundary. 10 minutes for a small decision, a day for a moderate one, a week for something significant. Not because the deadline guarantees perfection, but because it forces the mind to convert thought into motion. A decision made at 80% confidence and acted on immediately will almost always outperform a decision delayed for months in search of the missing 20%. The second shift is learning to sort decisions by their true weight. Not every choice deserves the same intensity of scrutiny. Some decisions are reversible. A wrong restaurant, a wrong subject line, a wrong meeting time. These cost almost nothing to undo and deserve almost no deliberation. Others are irreversible. A career pivot, a long-term commitment, a public statement that can't be unsaid. These deserve real thought. The overthinking mind often applies irreversible level scrutiny to reversible level decisions, which is like using a surgeon's precision to cut a sandwich. Recognizing the difference alone eliminates a significant portion of daily mental friction. The third shift is a change in the question being asked. Instead of asking, "What if I'm wrong?" a question with no natural stopping point, the mind can ask, "What's the smallest next action I can take right now?" This single substitution moves a person from abstract fear into concrete motion. Fear thrives in hypotheticals. It weakens the moment it meets action. None of this happens instantly. Like any skill, tolerance for imperfect action is built gradually, through small, low-stakes repetitions. Sending the email without the 8th revision. Making the minor decision without the pros and cons list. Each small act of decisiveness is a rehearsal for the larger ones still to come. But beneath all of these techniques lies something deeper, an identity shift. Many intelligent people quietly believe that their value comes from how thoroughly they think, how many angles they've considered, how airtight their reasoning appears before they move. This belief must be gently released. Thinking is not the finish line. It is the preparation for the finish line. The people who accomplish the most are rarely those who consider the most possibilities. They are the ones who know precisely when enough thought has been done, and then move. Clarity, in the end, is not something a person is born with. It is a discipline, sharpened through practice, built by the willingness to act before every variable is resolved. The overthinking mind believes that safety lies in certainty. But real confidence is built in the opposite place, in the willingness to decide without it. So here's a question worth sitting with. The next time your mind starts circling a decision it has already answered, are you still thinking because the problem is unsolved, or because some part of you is afraid of what happens once you stop?